Joining us now to discuss, CNN political commentator Michael Smerconish, also the host of CNN's Smerconish. Michael, happy Friday. Always a happy Friday because we get to have you here on the show. Let's talk about what this means, big picture, because Harris really did put North Carolina in play in a way that Biden had not. It is going to be a very close race there. Is this potentially going to put it on the map for her?
Can I say that if I were voting in North Carolina, I would not vote against someone based on kink or fetish if I thought they were competent. I would vote against someone based on hypocrisy, stupidity, and judgment. How in the world could he believe he could ever get away with this? That's really the, I was going to say the rub of the matter. I'm not going to say that. I think that's the crux of the issue as I see it. Now, as to your question, does it impact Trump? Everything could impact Trump because it's such a game of inches. I'd be most fearful if I were a down ballot Republican. Like, my gut tells me that people are coming out to vote about Trump and Harris based on Trump and Harris. But when they get to the rest of the ballot, this could really be problematic.
I mean, Michael, will we have ever seen, if you believe the polling, the gap between Robinson and the Democrat is so vast. Have we ever seen a situation where there's that kind of a vast gap in that kind of a race and there isn't one at the presidential level that's at least, they only need like half a point.
Right. I just think that the motivation is such, you're absolutely right. And that's why I say a game of inches, anything could impact it. I just think that there's such heavy motivation to vote at the top of the ticket in the presidential race in this case. If it were a different cycle and you had at the top of the ticket the gubernatorial election, I would say Republicans could stand the chance of getting wiped out. Look, if I were Trump, I'd be concerned about this. I would be very concerned about how this plays in particular with suburban women with whom I'm already doing extremely poor. What will he say today? And what does he say if the lieutenant governor continues to deny, and everybody who takes the time to read the K-file investigation and look at some of the imagery and the handles and so forth. It seems like a no-brainer. Either that or, there's one other thing I want to say. He's trying to blame artificial intelligence, even though this precedes artificial intelligence. There's something called the liar's dividend, which means that in a world where you can put out bogus information, it creates a situation where people who really did do things that are exhibiting poor judgment, they get to say, well, that's not me, that's not mine. In this case, I don't think it's convincing, but there is a long-term lesson in how AI could cause doubt in the future.
Yeah, it's interesting, somewhat disturbing. Michael, while I have you, I want to ask you about something that we've seen elsewhere in the campaign, which is this group, White Dudes for Harris, that has been organizing. Obviously, we've talked a lot about the gender gap that has emerged pretty significantly. It's been building, but it's very significant in this particular election cycle. Let's watch their most recent ad, and then I want to ask you about it on the side. Watch.
Hey, white dudes. So I think we're all pretty sick of hearing how much we suck. Every time you go online, it's the same story. We're the problem. And yeah, some white dudes are. Trump and all his MAGA buddies are out there making it worse. So I've been doing my own research and decided to check out Kamala Harris and Tim Walz. And before you jump down my throat, they're actually talking to guys like us. No lectures, no BS. Just real solutions that protect our freedoms and help us take care of the people who matter. End of the day, you're your own man. It's your call.
What do you make of that, the way they're approaching this, Michael?
So there's a huge gender gap in the election generally, but particularly it's most pronounced among Gen Zers, where you've got younger women largely supporting Kamala Harris and younger men largely supporting Donald Trump. A Times Siena poll of 6 battleground states found a few months ago that the gender gap is 51 points between young men and young women in this election. And the approaches are significantly different in terms of reaching young men, right? You've got this machismo masculinity pitch that gets made by former President Trump, personified by the Paul brothers or Ultimate Fighting Championships or Joe Rogan, even if Rogan is not formally on board. And then from the Harris-Walz campaign, you've got Governor Walz coming out on that stage at the convention, followed by a number of his football players. It's a more service-oriented pitch to masculinity. What no one can deny is that younger women are thriving in comparison to young men, whether the metric is education, employment, mental health. You know, young men in particular seem to be lagging behind, and how they can be reached is the issue that this brings up.
It's an interesting way to think about it. I do think a lot of teen girls in particular are facing significant mental health challenges. But on those other metrics,
sure.
I absolutely do take your point, and it's definitely become a central piece of how we're fighting this election. Michael Smerconish, always grateful to have you on the show. Thank you so much. And of course, don't forget, tune into Smerconish tomorrow morning, 9 a.m. Eastern, right here on CNN.